let it happen and see what's gonna happen.
Yeah, and there's there's only guessing,
Yeah,
and
it's
there's
only
no
guessing.
knowing. But
Yeah.
you would think,
Yeah.
hey, let's take a breath. Why don't we pause for a second and allow time for an ongoing investigation? And then we can go from there.
Yeah. Things doesn't happen like they should.
No.
But
Except for in the movies.
except for in the movies, because you got great writers in the movies, and life, you deal with life.
Yep.
But first question to you is doing research on you, and I've interviewed with you a couple of times, but I'm really curious, like, what makes somebody Montana? Like, what is there something that only a Montanian will know, or something that is it something that you could help me out with there, so I could identify, like, what would you say makes you Montana?
I think what makes me Montanan? I think if you want to stand all by yourself in the mountains for a long, long time, you're probably a Montanan.
yeah, that's something. You work with a great cast here. I mean, I love Riz, and I love Tom, and like, how was this experience on a Marvel movie, and being in this universe and working with that cast? I mean, you've had a lot of great castmates in the past, but how was that connection?
It was great. It was a very different way than I'm used to working. A very different kind of set, very big. There's a monitor and there's seats like 4 rows deep, producers and writers and director in the studio, and the thing that's really odd about it is that usually the movies that I make, if there's a monitor at all, there is one person behind it, and that's the director, and that's just it. You don't have this kind of like crowd watching you work, and it really changes the way that you. It's important to not let it change the way that you work.
Yeah.
And to allow yourself still in that environment with all these people, these people who decide things, people with a lot of power, people with a lot of sway, people with a lot of opinions, to not let yourself get psyched out by that, and to still allow yourself to experiment or fail, or it's a harder environment to do that when you've got like a deep crew of dudes who are like making a lot of decisions, to still let yourself be free. I like that for me was one of the hardest parts of the job. And I loved doing it with Tom, and Tom and I would have a lot of fun together, improvising, throwing the script away, trying whatever we wanted to do. All of a sudden we'd wind up in Tom's got this amazing mind where he makes these leaps, and so you can find yourself in these very unexpected places, and that's when it's really, really fun, because you're suddenly somewhere that neither of you could have anticipated, but because you're very close, because you're a good working unit, you can go there and still play in that world, still have things to say, still have, like, it doesn't freeze you to suddenly be in this new environment. Anyway, it's we had a lot of fun. It's like being 2 kids on the playground who are, just making stuff up. Are you going to behave yourself tomorrow?
No, I'm going to do my job. That's what I'm going to do. I can't, and not do my job.
But we don't want to repeat
Repeat.
of the Daily Globe incident.
Ow, really?
Baby, you were run out of New York. I don't want you run out of San Francisco.
No, I still have currency in New York. I was going places. I wasn't running, I was going places. I moved to San Francisco for you. Yeah. You are my home.
Not so bad yourself, champ.
Does it get easier as you go along to still experiment, or harder? I mean, because now you have 4 nominations. Directors might be looking for certain things you've done in the past. Do you feel like, as an actor, that it gets easier to experiment in those places, or?
It's sort of both. Like, you get better, you just get naturally more proficient at what you do, just because you've put in more hours and you've had more experiences and you've done it in. Somebody used to say to me, and I love this, he said, I surf all day in every kind of weather. And I feel like, and I really took that to heart, and I thought, oh yeah, I act all day in every kind of weather. So I've taken what I do and I've tested it in so many environments, so I just have more experience, more like, oh, I know what to do when it's sleeting outside, or I know what to do when I forget a line, or whatever. You just have like ways of coping, ways of dealing. But then you also find your own limitations, and so you're experimenting. You have to keep training or keep figuring out ways to keep your experimentation fresh so that you don't just bore yourself and everybody else to death. So while in some ways you get better, you also sort of get weaker because you've spent yourself in a way. So by trying different things, by trying things you haven't done before, it's a good way to keep testing.
Well, I love seeing your testing on the screen, and keep doing your thing. We'll keep on watching.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
We hope this thing works out for the victims in the country.
I'm with you. I really hope so.
Yeah.